Alright, hello. Well, I'd make a devlog. So today I'd like to talk about what I've been doing, mostly optimization, and then I refactor. So, and I think this is my final optimization. I'm done after this, and I can actually move on with creating the game. I just needed to make sure that the game was in a playable state with lower end computers before moving on. And I think really I'm at the bottom. I don't think there's going to be anything more than what I've done right now, unfortunately. So firstly we have audio. So I've gone and refactored the audio. We used to have audio player on the gun mount, and that would play some audio from the gun. And I've moved that into under the NPC controller. The NPC controller has 2 audio players, so each ship only has 2 audio players now, and it does have polyphony, so play more than one sound, but it doesn't normally play more than one sound. I've sort of organized it in a way it only plays one sound. They also get disabled if they're far away. There's also a count in the audio player. Right here, there's a count to make sure that not too many audio players are playing at the same time. There is, but the engine audio player plays, well, it turns on and off, but you see it turns on and off depending on the distance. There's also obviously the max distance here as well. So both things are sort of true. So yes, you have both the engine sound turning off when at a certain distance, and we also have this not playing either at a certain distance. So few efficiencies there. And then I also moved all of the audio for the player onto this node here, which is basically, you know, this is a node, and this manages all of the audio for the player's ship. And these are now not node 3Ds, but they are audio stream players, which means that they are more efficient. However, and when you shoot your gun, we have max polyphony, so this had to end up being pretty high, because if you imagine you can have up to like 6 or 7 guns on your ship, and if they all request the same sound, then we're going to have an issue. So I put the max polyphony quite high. But it's just going to be for the player and nobody else, right? So hopefully we're okay. Okay, so that's audio. The next thing I've been working on is the particles. So I've just gone through and basically simplified all of my particles to some extent, lowered the texture resolution. Let's see. Let's open up like this one. Well, this one in particular is using a flipbook, but I've made sure to, there's a number of things I've done, lowering the amount everywhere, lowering this fixed FPS to 24, since it doesn't seem to make a visual difference between 30 and 24. Seems okay. Save a few FPS, I suppose. When I'm billboarding, I make sure to not use this transform line anymore, right? Because you have an option to billboard here, and because I'm billboarding in my particle shader, and I want to make sure that there's not some weird behavior where it's calculating the billboard twice or something, right? but I don't know if that's even true. It might be. I created this little simple particle shader. It's basically just the standard shader, but I've cut some of the stuff out, and there's also these if statements. So hopefully this is a little bit more efficient than the normal shader, but who can say? I've made sure we've got blend. So these things are important, right? Unfortunately, we have the call disabled because I'm using this for both like 3D and billboard. And then, but there's an argument to say that I should separate them out. Definitely. We're using blend mode add with depth draw never and depth prepass alpha and unshaded. I've also checked this off, but I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think this would matter, but I've checked it off anyway. The cast shadow. Oh, and I've also made sure that the every mesh is basically going to get reused. So the majority of my particles are using this one mesh called plane mesh face Z. So that means you are reusing the same mesh with basically every particle, but there's a few exceptions to that, like something like this, which is a cross mesh. Okay, and then I think that's everything to do with particles. You can see we still have the animation and stuff working, and this is basically all I need from a particle is the ability to play an animation, and the ability to use the billboard, and the ability to change color and add a texture. That's all I need. So yes, the next thing to talk about making sure I have all small textures, mostly 64 to 28, and making sure we've got mip maps. They're apparently good, but they will take a little bit more memory. I've tried alpha scissor blend mix, which would be slightly more efficient, I think. However, it looks weird. I can't do that. So finally, there was a big problem with custom resources. I can't explain the problem. I was launching the game. The resource would be, it was specifically things like weapon data resource and character data resource and things like this. Right. Where would I find something like that? Character data. So this resource here. It decided that this was this didn't exist. The editor, well, it decided that there's no parse editors in the editor. But when I went to run the game, it said that the character data didn't exist as even a type, even a class. It doesn't exist. So I don't know. And then I've also found custom resources to be unreliable with saving and loading. There's some weird behaviors with using getters, setters as well, and trying to save and load a resource. Some strange behaviors that I've been experiencing, and there's also strange errors that make no sense. So and I can hear the gaslighting right now, right? I've been using resources forever, and they've never broken for me and never been weird, right? Which, and you know, is the thing is, I'm gaslighting myself because it shouldn't have happened. These bugs shouldn't have happened. I can't explain them, etc., etc. I'm not even going to talk about it. What I'm going to say is I'm not going to be using custom resources anymore going forward. I don't understand the problem. I just have PTSD about it now. I don't want to deal with it. I'm moving to dictionaries, and that's it for my data. Which feels like a downgrade, right? It does feel like a downgrade. Here's my data now. You can see it. But at the same time, it's also, there's other upsides to it, right? There's downsides and upsides. I can now do something like this, right? You know, for whatever reason, I want to change all of this to be photon gun. I can very easily. It's very bam, 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 easy. So yeah, that's an upside. There's also upsides about, well, yes, there's upsides and downsides. But mostly I'm happy with the change. Using dictionaries. I'm mostly happy. So, all right. So hopefully, I will show you the benchmark, the new benchmark, which will hopefully be much higher than what we had before. Very happy. There you have it. We're at a solid 600 FPS with no dips. So very happy with those performance optimizations. Especially put these back. All right. Especially the draft. So that's everything I want to say today. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And I hope you have a great day.